You ever walk out to your driveway and realize your whole world's been wrecked by someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them? That's how it started for me, staring at my '67 Mustang. My pride and joy, the last real connection I had to my old man, smashed up so bad, the windshield looked like a spiderweb hood caved-in bumper, nearly dragging on the asphalt. I remember my heart thudding so hard it was almost louder than the neighbor's dogs and the hiss of the sprinklers. I could barely breathe seeing all that twisted metal, knowing this wasn't just a car. That thing was history, my history. See, my dad and I rebuilt that car when I was 17, him in his old flannel and me scraping my knuckles, grease up to my elbows, laughing and cussing our way through every Sunday morning. That Mustang carried every memory, late night talks, drives to the lake, even the place I cried for the first time after his funeral. And now it sat in ruins. 2 hours earlier, it was locked up safe in my garage, and now it looked like it had lost a fight with a semi. My phone buzzed, neighbor calling, panic in her voice. She said there'd been a red blur flying out. The HOA gate crashed through a mailbox on Miller's Curve. Belonged to Mrs. Pennington, queen of dead roses and neighborhood gossip. I raced out there, barely had time to take it all in before I heard this laugh, just obnoxious, like he was proud of what he'd done. And there he was, Barbara's son, muscles-tight shirt, that too clean for trouble look. He leaned against a street lamp, cocky as anything 10 feet from my dying car. Then came Barbara herself. Wedge heels, clacking floral dress, sunglasses perched like a crown, lips curled in that practiced smile that never reached her eyes. "Is that your car?" she chirped, tilting her head like she didn't already know. I didn't answer. Her son just shrugged. "Relax, man, it still runs, probably," he said, grinning. I could feel my fist clenching, my jaw aching to say what I really wanted. "You took my car," I told him every word. Heavy. He just smirked, borrowed. "You left the key hanging." What was I supposed to do, not drive it? Barbara swept in, brushing away my anger like it was a bug. "Let's not use ugly words, dear. Boys will be boys. He just wanted to take it for a spin. These old cars, you know, so unsafe these days." My voice was shaking when I said, "That car's worth more than your house." She just laughed. "Then maybe you should have insured it better." No apology, no hint of guilt. They just strolled off, her son jingling his keys like nothing happened. Next morning, my voicemail was overflowing: HOA violations, lawn too long, unlicensed vehicle storage. Apparently, the sound of my heart breaking was too loud for the neighborhood. I called the cops, insurance, everyone. Nobody cared. The cop they sent out looked barely old enough to shave, watched my security cam footage and said, "This'll probably be a civil matter. She's on the city council, just so you know," like that was supposed to scare me off. But I pressed charges anyway. Didn't matter. 2 days later, Barbara called an emergency HOA meeting to vote if my busted car was a danger to community aesthetics and safety. The invite read like a mob threat, but printed in Times New Roman. Meeting was at her place, naturally lemon water Febreze folding chairs lined up like it was a timeshare pitch. I showed up in my best suit, not to impress, but to send a message I wasn't backing down. Barbara stood at the front, fake concerned, while her son scrolled his phone in the back. The rest of the board, her usual puppets, wouldn't meet my eyes. "We're here to discuss the Mustang incident," she began. I cut her off. "You mean the one your son stole and crashed?" Dead silence. One guy shifted in his seat. Barbara blinked, then smiled. "That's a serious accusation. I have footage," I shot back. She just smiled wider. "And we have bylaws, Article 9, Section B. Vehicles must be properly stored. Yours is not." Her son grinned like he'd scored a touchdown. Not a single neighbor stood up. Not one defended me. That night, sitting on my porch staring at the wreck, I wasn't broken. I was cold-focused. I wanted justice, sure, but mostly I wanted them to choke on the arrogance that let them walk over people for so long. I gave it 3 days. 3 days for them to do the right thing, own up, maybe show some remorse. Instead, I got silence and a parking ticket. Barbara's new rule about driveways, kept clear, slid right under my nose, targeting the Mustang directly. On day 4, there was another fine, this time for visual clutter. It was all piling up. This wasn't about the car anymore. It was about power, about control. I played it straight, emailed the HOA, attached the police report, the repair estimate, $12,700. Barbara's response was classic group email, all about neighborhood harmony, her refusing any liability, attaching some PDF about community values. It was so smug, I almost threw my coffee through the window. Later that day, her son, parked across from my house, energy drink in hand, called out, "That thing fixed yet? Or is it just part of your landscaping?" I ignored him, pulled another violation out of the mailbox, this time for a wind chime I didn't even own. By Saturday, I realized justice wasn't coming. If I wanted accountability, I'd have to make it myself. I started with the cop again, but he just recommended mediation. Like I was supposed to sit around a table and talk it out with people who used rules as weapons. So I called up Frankie, old friend turned private eye. "Give me a week," he said, "I'll dig." Meanwhile, I sent my story to Mia, a journalist who loved exposing HOA horror. Within a day, she was knocking on my door, recorder in hand, saying, "They messed with the wrong guy." A week later, Frankie called back. Turns out Barbara was running the HOA funds like her own piggy bank, fake landscaping bills, shell companies, HOA cash funneled into personal trips and new furniture. Even a payment toward that new truck of her son's. Frankie sent proof copies of checks, receipts, online orders. It was a whole scheme right under everyone's nose. I started talking to neighbors. Mr. Mendez, 2 doors down, told me, "She's run this place like a dictator for years. Most of us just try not to get on her bad side." But wrecking your car, that's a new low. Word spread fast. People started showing up, sharing their stories. Stolen tools, swing sets called violations, threats for speaking up. The neighborhood once scared silent was waking up. 2 days before Mia's article dropped, the HOA vice president, Tom, called me to his garage. "We're calling a vote to remove her, but we need proof." I handed him Frankie's file. Tom's eyes got wide. "Oh, this is enough." That weekend, the story exploded. HOA president's son crashes classic Mustang. Homeowner fights back. Local news had footage, interviews, receipts, everything. The mood changed overnight. Barbara couldn't show her face without whispers. Her son vanished, deleted his socials, stopped parking his truck out front. Then came the letter special HOA vote to remove Barbara. The same folks who'd once nodded along were now ready to boot her out. But I wasn't done until it stuck. Called up civil court, filed my claim. The morning of the vote, the whole neighborhood felt like it was holding its breath. Lawns perfect, flags out, but a hush like everyone knew a storm was about to break. At the meeting, Tom read out the charges. Barbara tried to protest. "You're tearing apart everything I built," but nobody listened. When it was my turn, I laid out the evidence: stolen funds, bogus violations, my car totaled and ignored. The vote was quick. Barbara removed by a landslide, her face, red hands shaking, her son gone before the room even emptied. But you know what? That was just the start. 2 weeks later, we faced each other in civil court. No more titles, no more power, just facts and consequences. The judge saw the video, the reports, the mountain of evidence, and ruled in my favor. Her son had to pay full repairs and damages. Barbara fined, banned from HOA leadership for good. I didn't cheer as they left, just stepped outside and let the sun warm my face, feeling the weight lift off my chest for the first time in months. A month later, the check cleared. My mechanic fixed up the Mustang better than new. When I rolled it back home, folks waved a few, gave me thumbs up, and for the first time in a long time, the neighborhood felt like home again. Barbara's house got a for sale sign, her grass overgrown, her son's truck long gone. I sat in my driveway, engine humming, not angry, not even satisfied, just whole. But you know what stuck with me? Justice was good. But what about everyone else who still lives scared? Who never gets their turn? I shut off the engine, watched the sun glint off that Mustang's hood, and decided it wasn't enough to win for me. Mia emailed, wanted to start a series on HOA nightmares. "Count me in," I replied. Maybe the next guy won't have to fight alone. You know what I mean? That's the thing about justice. Once it shows up, it's got to stick around a while, or what's the point? If you've ever been through the ringer with an HOA or seen someone abuse a little power, I want to know, where do you stand? Was I right to take it this far? Is justice about revenge or about change? Drop your story below, because trust me, your voice might be the one that tips the scales for the next guy.